I had the very great pleasure of sitting next to Bridget through that, so I had a kind of director's commentary all the way through it. So there were lots of little things that I hadn't noticed the first time I watched it. So for instance, when the first time the Eel sisters are standing together and they're both holding their eel tools, you were like, it's American Gothic. We set that up to look like just all these little touches. And that you designed the wanted posters with your own woodcut face on.
With the teeth, yeah.
Were you being deliberately cruel to yourself?
They mocked one up, but I looked all right. Yeah. And I don't think the town would have done that.
No.
I think they would have put the teeth out and done, the eyes. Yeah, they wouldn't have made flattering wanted posters.
No. It's a chance to diss you, isn't it? Yeah. I like the fact that your favourite bit seemed to be Paul Whitehouse having lice. That was kind of like you were, as we led up to that, you were crying laughing.
I mean, there's something funny about scratching, isn't there?
Yes.
And coughing. Yeah. I mean, there's not enough coughing and scratching in things, I don't think. Yeah.
How was that for everybody watching that? How do you feel watching yourselves on screen? Did you have to hide the eyes, or were you actually able to lose yourselves in it?
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It was nice to see it back again. It feels like such a long time ago.
It does.
And there's so much I never got to see.
Yeah.
I think that's often the way when you're sort of in and then out. You get to see so much of it, and I hadn't seen a lot of it. So yeah, it was lovely.
I felt it was like different from the read through, and some. You know what I mean? When we did the read-through, and I'm watching that, I was thinking, God, it feels like there was more bits added while we were doing it, as the actors got there and the environment was there and everything. I feel as if it sort of grew and it felt sort of, I don't know, just more filled out, richer. Like, did you add bits while we were going along?
No, I think what it is there was. Do you remember we had a guy reading the stage directions?
Yeah.
And he was reading out all the things that we saw, and they took ages. Do you remember? It was like, maybe we need to listen to the stage directions, clearly.
No,
it's just that there's a lot of descriptions of things. So, we would go underground here and things like that. And I just, I suppose it's when you're in a read-through, you're focusing on dialogue and what people are saying, maybe, more than what you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the bit about Laura's character talking with the birds from the read-through. I can't remember at all. Was that actually the read-through?
That was in there, yeah.
Because I thought that maybe I thought it was added because Mackenzie Crook has this kind of like symbiotic relationship with animals.
Yeah, with birds.
With nature.
But with nature and animals, like he really does communicate with them.
So were the birds at the read-through? Was there like were the
outside. They're outside. There's a
So I wondered
playground
whether or not it was
outside.
added because of him.
No, in fact, one of the first things. Do you remember when we met
Our
you?
meeting,
When
that's
you came
why
in?
I wanted the part. I wanted I can speak to birds.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah, the two things were about the character was that she put curses. She
Hexes.
knew how to make spells,
Yeah.
and she spoke to the birds.
Sold.
Right, yeah, right.
And then I think without those, you might not have done it.
Yes, very true.
It's interesting you saying, Tanya, that kind of like it seemed richer when you watched it, because because I've watched the whole series, I have to say the whole series is incredible, and it goes somewhere that I've never really seen a TV show go before. It becomes I can't spoil it anything, but it just becomes increasingly dreamlike. And there's one episode where I just literally don't understand what you would have written in the script. It just looks like something that you dreamt and that was just created. So this is the first TV show that you've done, which is incredible. What was the experience like of making a TV show compared to what you thought it would be like?
Well, I had nothing to compare it to, but I think the hardest thing is, somebody once said to me, we've got to try and get what is inside your head onto the page and onto the screen. And I do have to say that with my producers and Expectation and Morwenna and Channel 4, they didn't ever say it's too, you can't really do that. They really were just gave me real freedom to be able to do that. And
I mean, I'm looking at you dressed like this, and I can see you've been given freedom. It's like, that's very apparent. Yeah.
It was, was that was. The objective was to try. This is the place, the Forest of Dean is. It's like a memory. I've romanticised it. So really, what I'm trying to do is get those memories of being a child and thinking about. So I think we romanticise the past a lot as well, but I think we don't see enough of the land and nature in a lot of programmes, and that's really what I wanted to do. And our DOP, Ben Malden, who's here, he was really amazing at using the right lenses and ratios and all that, so to try and capture not only the programmes that I used to watch as a child that inspired this, but also the memories that I had.
Yeah, because the emotional mood board that you had, things that you were mentioning, stuff like Northern Exposure, Twin Peaks, like kind of like, what was when you were coming up with the emotional mood board, what was the key thing that you wanted to do? What was the thread that you were following through? Like, I want to do this.
I wanted to make it feel like that it could be any time. Yeah. I didn't want it to feel like now, but it wasn't a period piece. That was the main thing that I wanted to create.
Oh, you've definitely done it. I mean, it is timeless. It just exists in its own world. It's beautiful. Laura, you're the new cast member. You're the new eel sister now.
Sorry about it.
You have one of the all-time great introductions, like I think second only to in the Blues Brothers, where Dan Aykroyd goes and picks up John Belushi. You are, it's
I
jailbreak,
feel
right?
like any actor would want to do that, sort of walking out of a prison, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's on some sort of bucket list, but I've always had kind of a morbid obsession with prisons and stuff. So when I knew I was doing that entrance, I thought, this is iconic.
And it is.
It feels it anyway. I felt it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. It's a really cool entrance.
Yeah.
Probably
Tell us
the
about
coolest
Theresa.
I've had into a telly programme. So.
Yeah. Tell us about Theresa.
I think you've just seen it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, she is. It's a gift, really. I mean, I was such a huge fan of the first series, so when Bridget had written this part for me, really, I just felt incredibly flattered. And the first thing I think you said to me, she speaks to birds and she's just being released from prison. I was like,
Yes.
I mean, I'd have cleaned the toilets to be part of this show. I was such a huge fan and have always been a huge fan of Bridget. So Teresa's a gift, really.
Well, you said you based her on someone you knew at school. Will she recognise herself in that depiction?
I hope not.
Did she have eels and mash written on her hands? That might be.
Yeah, she did. No. Just loosely based.
Yeah.
I always base a character on sort of someone I know, and also like I'd watched the first series, so you kind of go off, Monica and Susan's brilliant work, and you go, well, I'm just a variation of that, and then I'll add my layers, Yeah.
Tanya, you're back for the second series. Bridget said that when she was describing your character, Joy, she said that you were just basically played Cool Jesus. How do you... Tell me how you play Cool Jesus. I mean, you're doing it.
Do you remember?
Surprise!
Anyway.
You're Jesus. Yeah.
Oh my God, so what was the question, Caitlin?
How do you mood board that? Like, where are you? How do you play Cool Jesus? How do you put Cool Jesus together?
Well, I mean, everything's in the text and my relationship with Linda.
Yeah.
So I just look into Bridget's eyes and I'm just there. It's easy, isn't it? And the kind of like, in the court scene and everything. I think that's the first time I felt slightly conflicted because I was like, I don't want Joy to be sitting there in judgment of her friend. I want her to automatically be like, this is ridiculous, everybody. Mm-hmm. But actually my, not that my loyalties with the town, but my responsibilities and my, so I sort of have to go through the processes, but inwardly, I'm with my friends.
Just with Linda.
Yeah. So that was the first time I felt a sense of conflict in the kind of sense.
But necessary.
Yeah.
So Joy and the Verderer, played by Jim, you are both DJs in the town. You have a past.
Sorry,
and a
Nasty
relationship
Jesus.
Together?
Nasty.
Tell us about the Verderer, because you are legendarily one of the nicest people in the industry. So, how are you playing a poisonous bastard? What are you bringing
It's
to
an
that?
awful lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, you'd like. I think you think you sort of see all of the Verderer on screen. You know exactly who he is, and it's quite nice in this series because we sort of get to see. We get a glimpse of just how sort of isolated and lonely and desperate he is, really. So, yeah, it was nice to sort of play a bit more sort of depth this series with him.
Yeah, I don't want. There's an amazing.
A sort of an explanation, I suppose, into his kind of craziness.
Yeah, there's a bit. I don't want to spoil the stuff, but there's an amazing scene in the forthcoming episode where we think you're on air and you're giving a big monologue, and it's very revealing about where you're at mentally, and then at the very end of it you turn the microphone on and it's just and you go into your shock jock persona. How is it playing that kind of character like? Because are you getting men coming up to you who maybe think that is what you are like? Are you getting people coming up to you going, yeah, funny you said it, like, thank you so much?
Right on.
Je suis verderer. Are you like, where are you?
No, I'm not. No.
Yeah.
It's you know.
Just me further.
Merch-wise, you need both T-shirts. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to make sure everybody who wants a T-shirt can get a T-shirt. So, yeah.
No, I'm not getting any recognition at all. I mean, it's interesting. I go to the sort of football once sort of every other weekend, and you would, I suppose, maybe imagine that would happen, but no, it doesn't at all.
No.
No, there's not. No, it's
Between the two, between Joy and the Verderer on the radio, you're basically playing out all the sort of current conversations about misogyny and feminism, and sort of like, in such a brilliant comic way. Were you aware of that when you were doing it? Are you kind of like, are you wanting to take part in that kind of conversation and show those two counterbalances between feminism and the manosphere?
yeah. I think it's important, a massively important thing to do.
Yeah.
But as you know, as Tanya said, it's all in the text.
Yeah.
So it's there to. It's a gift. You don't have to think about it too much. You just apply yourself to that.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, though, that it's all in the text, but Jim always elevates it. He always elevates the text. So what you're seeing is, what Bridget's written, and then there are bits there that, I saw in those scenes that I was thinking, that wasn't in the text. That's Jim really inhabiting the character. And
Forgot the lines.
Again, which he never does. He always knows the text like inside out, and then he elevates it. I just think it's such a joy.
Yeah, oh my
it's such a joy to play opposite him.
Likewise. Thank you.
Tell us all the reactions that you had to the first series, because I suspect the biggest reaction you will have had will have been to the concept of the ledger. Like when I watched that first series, at the point where the ledger, when I saw what you were doing,
Yes.
the accounting of every second that you've spent being of utility to others, I just stood up and punched the air. It's the smartest idea I've seen.
It's one of those. It's such a simple
Yeah.
idea,
It's killer.
I'm really surprised that not everyone's got one.
Did you have one?
No.
Yes.
So a journalist asked me, and I think they said, "How long have you kept a ledger?" And I said, "I only thought about it when I wrote this." But yeah, there have been a lot of reaction to the ledger.
Did you time how many minutes it takes to get crumbs out of a toaster though?
Yes.
I feel like
very
I imagined
precise.
you doing that.
Yes.
Do that.
It's not that long. It's not as long
I
as.
thought so you said 3 minutes something. I was like, no. So just shake it.
Yeah.
But it does.
If it's a seeded batch, you're going to be there.
Well, exactly. Depends what's happened. I once shook the crumbs out of a toaster and a mouse came out.
No! God!
Fossilised and very
Oh
old.
my God!
It had been months. It had obviously climbed in to get the crumbs many months before.
Oh my God!
And had over months, like a part work's been fried down into kind of mouse biltong. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's in it.
So it had kept being toasted
Yes.
over and over.
Repeatedly. Yeah. But we
Built on.
But we kept the toaster. I don't want to waste it. It was an Alessi. It was a very expensive toaster. I didn't want to buy a new one. So, yeah.
Oh dear. It's a silly mouse.
Sorry. Foolish mouse. Have you had people coming up to you and saying they have ledgers?
Yes.
Has this now sparked a movement?
really?
They've got ledgers, but also they're making headdresses and things from the Eel Festival, and it's been really moving actually. The people who've like Charlie was saying, it's the people who've kind of responded to it have really responded to it, and they're doing their own little rituals.
I love that people are doing the rituals, because one of the things that you realise when you're watching it is like all folk rituals are made up by someone. There's this kind of like, no, these are the ancient things. So someone made them up at some point.
Exactly.
You can
Exactly.
totally make up a new one and other people can join in.
And it's a ritual is whatever you want it to be, and I made this afternoon.
Yeah.
Really? Yes. Oh, it doesn't look like you made it in 3 minutes.
But that's another thing I love about it, like all the things that very little money is ever spent in this show, like kind of like none of the characters. It's so many other TV shows. It's all about people buying things and going places, but you're constantly making things on this. There's a sort of and watching people make things is very meditative, which again, it's another aspect I've never seen in a show before.
Yeah, it's that was all deliberate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just again, I don't think we see those sorts of things in mainstream, but they're happening. People do.
Well, it's an
live
invitation.
like that.
Yeah, it's an invitation to creativity.
Yeah.
So you said other people have put on festivals and had their rituals and stuff. Have you been tempted to go to any? Have you been invited to any?
Since the change.
Yeah.
No, weirdly.
Yeah. Would you not want to go to someone's eel festival and see how they would?
Yeah, that would be. I mean, I love things that. I mean, it's a funny thing, Ritual. I think it's like you say. I grew up in a really kind of Catholic, like yourself, upbringing, Irish Catholics, and there was rituals every week, and I think that sort of went in on some level. The sort of dressing up and the ash on your forehead and the smells and all of that, and making things. Because the youngest of 9 kids, we didn't have anything, so we made everything.
Yeah.
And so that's in there as well.
No, you can see all these threads all the way through it. It's so beautiful. Tell us about living and working in the New Forest while you were shooting this. Like, what was it like being down there? Have you wanted to go back for a holiday, or do you now see that as a workplace and the place of the show?
Did you go back to a hotel that you stayed in as a child? And there's some.
Oh yeah, I went back to
Little Dean?
In Little Dean, just outside Cinderford. Yeah. It's not much of a story, but it's as a 9-year-old, I went on a school trip to Little Dean, and on my day off, I went back to the hotel, and they wouldn't let me in. They thought I was a weirdo because no one really sort of visits. And I explained to them, I said, well, look, no, I came here as a 9-year-old and I had a really great time. And it just so happens I'm working here now. And, who'd have believed it? And they still wouldn't let me in.
They just didn't care and were really rude.
Yeah, they said, yeah. Well, we're just locking up now. This is sort of like opening time. But that was... and then I went back to the hotel and got a Burger King.
Do you want to give us the name of the hotel so we can boycott it? The cold-hearted owners?
The Little Dean Hotel.
Boo to the Little Dean Hotel.
Yeah. It's a lovely little village. That's where the jail was, right?
That's where the jail was, But the Forest of Dean it is like nowhere else
it's a magical place.
in the world.
Last series, I saw wild boar, a family of wild boar. As I was driving to the base at about 5 a.m, I saw a whole family cross the road. Yeah.
Oh, that's
crazy. Yeah.
Tell us about the costumes as well, because that's another thing. I've noticed that with female-led stuff, particularly if it's female written and directed, the costumes do half the storytelling. There's a really notable clothes journey that Linda goes through, which kind of... Because men can't really go through clothes journeys, because they always wear the same thing. There's no character development in men. They just get them and put trousers on. Whereas like the way that Linda changes the way that she dresses all the way through this is like a really important part of the storytelling.
Yeah, well, she'd not really thought about it for a really long time. She spent most of her adult life just getting her clothes when she gets her weekly shop, from Sainsbury's or wherever. And, it's not, when you get married and have kids, it's not an important thing anymore. So her, like, that changes, it's sort of like the physical manifestation of what's happening to her internally. It's like she's discovering who she was or wants to be, and that's that, because actually when I used to go to the Forest of Dean as a child, people would dress like that. The guys would have check shirts, and it really felt like America in a way. They would have these Chevy trucks, and the guys would have these check shirts, and the women would be in these jeans, and so it's kind of that, and the truckers' caps. So
because you're very Grapes of Wrath, aren't you, with your outfit? It's very sort of caps and Laura.
Yes.
But it's that. And Jim, you've got an amazing prop later on in the series. Which
Yes,
again,
my costume does evolve.
Yeah,
yes.
there's a cod piece moment that is quite extraordinary. I don't say any more than that. We're going to take questions from the audience in a minute, so if you've got your questions ready, I've just got a quick fire round of questions here. The first one is the music. You were saying that often you wrote scenes to very specific pieces of music. So essentially it's a musical? Like kind of.
It is exactly like a musical.
Yeah.
No, it's just such. I remember David Lynch saying something that music was like air and water and wind, like it's as important in a show as everything else,
Yes.
if not more so. And just the music is. We could only have one commercial track per episode, and the rest is score. So it was like, and that's actually, I think that's a really good thing because you just then really pick really wisely.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a huge part of it. And again, it might be music that I listened to as a child, or just music that really suits that kind of the forest. Really,
Yeah.
I feel. If you don't know the Forest of Dean, because that music to me is the Forest of Dean, and people say I don't really know what you mean, and then they go there and they go, I know exactly what you mean now.
Yeah.
It just has that kind of energy and that feel to it. So it's kind of that was a huge part of it.
Oh, it is. Well, it's just thank you again for just doing something so dreamlike and beautiful. I don't want to spoil the rest of the series, but it goes somewhere you would not expect. It's very, very beautiful, and I think it's a really important show. Like there are different ideas for being a woman, and particularly a woman over 50, and we're not generally in the business of giving women ideas of what to do with their later life. It's just it's a really necessary and beautiful thing that you've done, Bridget. Thank you so much.
Thank you
It's
very
just.
I did, yeah. It's kind of, it's never too late to basically do anything. And I was thinking about this recently because I've got teenage children, and I'm really excited for what they do in their lives. And as I was thinking that, I felt a bit melancholy for my own life, and then I kind of stopped myself and thought, but why do you feel melancholy? You can also have your own adventure as well. There's no reason why you can't keep having adventures and having an exciting life. And so that's probably from I mean, I know I wrote it, so it sounds really weird, but but yeah, I might take myself off to a caravan at some point.
Yeah. Anyone else?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose count myself lucky that I'm surrounded with sort of loved ones and nice people, and I'm not
I feel like I just feel like sisterhood is really, really important, and I felt it very strongly on this show, like when we weren't filming. So like friendships, and I just feel like it encourages community and sisterhood, and that I get that a lot, and I felt that really strongly when I was filming and off camera as well. So yeah, that I feel like sisterhood's really important.
Yeah, I quite wanted to go and live in that town by the end of the series, I have to say. So yeah, it was like a little Narnia.
Yeah.
It's like a little feminist Narnia.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I would say that, the most important thing is to not try and change who you are as a person at all, to try and fit in, and that's quite hard when you're young. But I think the things that you might feel are wrong about yourself, they're the things that are going to actually make you stand out, and actually they're going to be the things that people love about you the most. So I would try and really write things that you're really interested in and that are important to you, and to not try and write to order, because things go in and out of fashion all the time, and it's impossible. Like, this is my first commission, and I'm 54 this year.
Yeah.
So I think you've just got to stick to your guns and write something that you would want to watch. And also, I didn't do this, but networking is actually, I hated the idea of that, and I didn't do it. And I'm 54 and this is my first. So I don't agree with this, but I do think that sometimes it is who you know, and figuring out a way in half the time. Unfortunately, that's quite an actually depressing thing to say, I think. But I think try and find a way in that is not just writing and sending it off, you know. And in terms of the misogyny, well, I mean, you tell me. But I would just try and just call it out whenever you see it, and just stick to your guns, you know.
And also on a practical level, learn to read a guest list upside down. If you're trying to get access to a club or event, if you can read upside down, you can claim to be someone else and get in. That's often the most practical way to network. Yeah. Well, I think we have to, I want to stay here for another 2 hours and carry on talking about this. It's just beautiful. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Let's thank again our incredible panel, Bridget Christie, Tanya Moodie, Jim Howick, and Laura Checkley. Thank you so much.